let someone start believing in you.
Life and Music with Manny Kellogg. I am a two-time Grammy Award winner and a legendary drummer. And today I'm so very proud and honored to have another fantastic musician with me as my very special guest. He was Tony Bennett's last bass player. And I'd like for you to say hello and welcome my good friend, as I am doing, Mr. Marshall Wood. How you doing, buddy? Talk to me.
I'm doing great, Manny. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh man, I can tell already this is gonna be fun, man. I love your laughter, the way you get started, you know. you, you get me going. Hey man, so let's say be very open. Whatever you want to talk about, it's your show. I'm just the host. Anyway, let's start with where you were from, man, and then who are some of your influences? Let's go there. Take your time. Do whatever you want. You got it, brother.
Okay, thanks. Well, I was born in Omaha, Nebraska in 1956. And at a very young age, I discovered that I had a cousin that played guitar, Bill Rogers. And Billy Rogers was with the Crusaders, with George Shearing, with Jack McDuff, a bunch of groups. He died young of a drug overdose, unfortunately. But from that moment, and then at the same time, the Beatles being on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, those two things made me, it woke up something inside me. I wanted to be a musician. I didn't really know what instrument or anything, but I just felt like I wanted to be a musician. And so we moved from Omaha in 1966 to Washington, D.C. And it was there that I started listening to the radio a lot. And I was listening to a lot of R&B, a lot of blues, funk. And I took up the bass pretty late for a person, you know, I mean, if I could do it over again, I'd start at about age 4 or something. But as it was, I was 15 when I got my first bass guitar. And now that I look back, Manny, I realized that I was driven from the day that I got that thing in my hands. Yeah, I really wanted to learn how to play music. So my influences at that point would have probably been any of the great funk bass players, you know, any of them, and blues bass players. And then I went off to Boulder, Colorado, and started hanging out in Denver. And it was there in 1977 or 8 that I met older musicians that had no acceptance of the Fender bass. They wanted to hear upright bass. So I switched because I wanted to learn from them and play with those guys. Okay. And that started my time with the upright bass, and I really haven't played the electric bass at all since then. I mean, it dwindled over time, and to the point by the mid '80s where I didn't, you know, it was just sitting in the case now, because playing upright bass is a full-time operation, at least for me. You know, it requires all my attention. So then my influences were people like Red Mitchell, Paul Chambers, Ray Brown, of course. All the great bass players, Percy Heath, you know, anybody that played great, I was really interested in trying to learn from. So that's it in a nutshell.
And also just add, I'm just going to throw one in there, the fantastic Harold Jones.
Well, that's a whole topic unto itself. I think it's a favorite topic of yours and mine. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
We'll get down to talking about Harold a little later in the show. Who are some of the artists that you have worked with and are working with now?
Oh, okay. So, you know, when I started in the early '80s, I started playing a lot of jobs around Boston, and in those days, Manny, we had 2 clubs, the Regatta Bar and Scullers, that would bring in an artist, and then they would have local musicians back them up for the week or for the 3 nights or whatever it was. And so I was lucky enough to play a week with Milt Jackson.
Okay.
And go on the road, meet Anita O'Day, and then go on the road with her for 2 years. Monty Alexander came to Newport, and they hired me, and then Monty hired me, and I made a record with him and traveled with him for a couple of years. I got to play with a whole bunch of people because that's just the way it was in those days. And locally, probably my all-time mentor musically, Gray Sargent, who also was in Tony Bennett's quartet for 24 years.
Oh.
And Gray and I have been playing together for 45 years. To this day, we still play all the time. And so that I'd have to mention Gray because that was an important person in my life. And then drummer-wise, Alan Dawson was in Boston until his death in, I think, 1996. And I got to play with Alan a lot. And I learned a ton playing with Alan Dawson. Yeah. So, yeah, I've been lucky. I've gotten to play with a lot of famous jazz musicians. And in each case, I learned a whole bunch by playing with them. Yeah.
Yeah. I can dig out of those people that you just mentioned right there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of off the record, but what was one of your most exciting moments, or who was the most exciting person that you were able to play behind and play with?
Well, in a sense, Manny, all of them. But I think what leaps to mind right now is I spent a good deal the summer of 1986 in New York playing with Anita O'Day and Chris Connor. And
Okay.
and that was fun. But the exciting thing came because Anita's attorney at that point, a man named Mark Sendroff, was also Tommy Flanagan's attorney. And when Mark Sendroff wanted to produce a record of all of his clients, he hired me to play with Anita and Tommy Flanagan, and that was a lot of fun and very exciting. And Tommy being one of my all-time heroes. Because that whole Detroit scene of the 50s is something that I think is just incredible. Barry Harris, Paul Chambers, everybody. And Tommy, of course, Kenny Burrell, all of those guys really knocked me out to this moment. So playing with Tommy Flanagan and then going out for lunch after we made the record date, that was really exciting for me. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm going to keep you on the hot seat there, man. I'm going to keep you right. What are some of the most funniest stories that you can tell us about?
Well,
take your time, brother. Take your time.
Yeah. The story that always comes to my mind that was funny to me, Manny, was when I first got to Boston, I got hired to play with a singer that was really inexperienced. She had been a dance instructor, and now she wanted to be a singer. So she put together a band, and actually the band was really good. And she was just new to it. I don't think she even pursued it much after this story took place. But we had a two-nighter in New Hampshire, in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and we went up on the Friday night and did the gig, and it was clear that the people couldn't relate to what she was doing. And so when we drove up the next day, Saturday, to do the second and final night, we pulled up to the club, and all of our equipment was on the lawn in front of the club. Yeah, they moved everything out. And, I took it in stride. I think the other guys, we had a great drummer, Vinnie Johnson, with us, who moved to New York right after that, did a bunch of Broadway shows, and then he passed away, unfortunately. But we took it all in stride, but she freaked out. So she started running up the main street that the club was on, and they told me, hey, man, you got to go get her because she, we got to bring her back to Boston, and she's got our money, So I ran up after her, and I got about even with her in a movie theater where everybody was in line, and I called out her name. Hey, I forgot her name now, but we'll say Susan. Hey, Susan, stop, stop, stop. And, and she turned around, and I know this is a family show, so I'll water it down a little bit, but she made a gesture and said, basically buzz off, Marshall Wood, but much stronger than that.
Yeah.
And then, as if it was scripted in the movie, everybody in that line turned around and did the same thing in unison. Buzz off, Marshall. That was pretty funny to me, even then, and even funnier now when I tell it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting story there, man. What are you currently doing, brother?
Well, as soon as the pandemic got over, because that's what shut down Tony Bennett performing anymore, was the pandemic. Yeah. I've been just freelancing around Boston, and I branched out. I'm playing a little bit more. I'm playing jazz gigs, but I'm also playing some blues gigs these days, which I really like with good players. That's a lot of fun for me, especially trying to capture sort of the authentic feeling, of all my blues heroes, not just getting up there and playing a lot with Gray. Now, my wife is a wonderful, wonderful singer. Donna Byrne is her name when she performs. So we've been doing some stuff. Yeah, we've been doing stuff since 1981. I mean, we have a long-standing musical partnership. Yeah.
Now, I was told, I'm sure you remember the event we went to in New York, saluting Harold. I was told by a little bird that your wife was one of the performers there that night.
Yes, she was. She sang "You're My Everything" with a small group, not the big band. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic, man. Just fantastic.
Thank you.
Any shows coming up that you are working on? Can you talk to us?
Let me think here. I'm working, every week. I'm probably doing 3 or 4 gigs. I'm off tonight, but I'll be doing something tomorrow. I got a couple steady gigs, one night a month that I'm doing. And, nothing comes to mind right now, Manny, but I'm busy playing, and I'll be 70 in October, and I've reached the conclusion, and this wasn't this year, it was maybe 10 years ago. You got to touch the instrument every day if you can, unless it's physically impossible because your instrument's in the shop or you're on a vacation or something. So I'm always playing the bass at some point during the day, whether I'm working or not. Yeah.
Now, did I understand you to say that you're going to be 70 in October?
You did understand me to say that, and just hearing that is a shock to my system, but it's what it is, right?
That's right, man. September 1st. I am proud and blessed to say that I will be 78 in September 1st, and this marks my 70th year behind the drum set.
Well, that is fantastic, man. Congratulations on that. So you started young.
I started when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I didn't even know that I could play the drum set or not. But I used to sit and watch this Deacon Avery. He said the only thing he had was a bass drum and snare drum. Wasn't no cymbal, no nothing.
Yeah.
And I used to, I think that's how I kind of got my brushwork from watching him, just seeing what he was doing. But that's all he had. And I used to bug Deacon Avery every Sunday. He's 7 years old, bugging this cat. Deacon Avery, can I play? Can I play today? Can you let me play? And he finally got tired. I guess he got tired of me asking him. So, okay, yeah, come on up here and play. and from watching him every Sunday, I sat down and did what he was doing. And I think he was just floored. From that moment on, I was the drummer to this day. I've been playing,
Wow.
So I'm like you. I'm shocked to say 70 years. It doesn't seem like it,
No, it goes by fast. It goes by really fast.
A lot of the people that I toured with and traveled with, I was with Billy Preston I was his main drummer, started everything with him for 25 years.
Wow.
And all of the musicians that he had in that band are no more. I'm the only one here talking about what we did,
Yeah.
sometimes it kind of scares me, it makes me tear up sometimes to know that
Sure.
I'm still thinking about all these guys because they're in my heart, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Even going on to the jazz thing, Freddie Hubbard, Carmen McRae,
Mm-hmm.
they're all gone, man, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm still here to keep going and talking about their names. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's fantastic, you know.
Yeah. That's how we keep people alive after they're gone, is by talking about them, playing their records and thinking about them and learning from them. Yeah.
Yeah. The memories never die. You
That's
know.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And the
right.
thing about, unfortunately, they're all fantastic and they're good memories, you know.
Yeah. 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 Yep.
Let
I
me take
got, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say let me just take a little quick break here and do a little advertisement thing. And
Sure.
I'd like to thank Diggs Entertainment, who produces this show. He's also my engineer, technician. 33 years old, man. He's fantastic. When you ever see his work, you just remember, oh man, he told me so. But his name is Justin Diggs, and he's responsible for keeping this show going. And I take my hat off to him, as well as you know, I take my hat off to the Grammy Awards for allowing me to be a two-time Grammy Award winner and to obtain 5 gold records. So again, I thank everyone for paying attention and keeping me going. Istanbul Cymbals, Gretsch Drums, thank you all very much. So with that being said, I'm going to stop talking and go back to my friend, my guest this week, and welcome him back. How you doing, man? Marshall, come on back. You in there?
I'm here. I'm here.
All right, man. I'm going to put you on the hot seat again, man.
Okay.
What advice can you give to a young and up and coming vocalist or musician, arranger, etc.? How can you encourage them to kick them in the butt to keep them going? You know, to keep them inspired, stuff like that. Go ahead.
Okay. Musician is probably the first one I want to answer, and that is nowadays, you know, when I started off in the late the late 70s, you could specialize in a certain kind of music. You know, so in those days, I set my sights on trying to be like a kind of like a Ray Brown style bass player and know every tune that anyone could possibly call. So I was always learning songs.
I hear you.
And there were lots of opportunities to play everywhere. As a matter of fact, I used to say I had to buy a night off. You know, it's not like that anymore. But it's changed. But I would say to a young aspiring bass player, I would say you've got to be proficient in a number of styles and not just dabble in those styles. You've got to know what it sounds like,
right.
What your instrument's supposed to sound like in that style. So I would encourage that. And, you know, when I started off, Manny, reading music could almost be optional, in the sense that if you had good ears, you could get away without being a particularly good reader, right?
Okay.
That's no longer the case. You got to be able to read music.
Okay.
And by learning how to read music, of course, you can learn a bunch of stuff on your own that might take you a lot longer. You know, you're exposed to other stuff, literature. And I'm going to be honest with you. At age 70, I'm a okay reader. I'm not a great reader, because my ear always wants to kick back in when I see written music and listen to what everyone else is playing, because I've been doing that my whole life. You know, hearing something and playing it. But so that's one thing, style, you know, a broad group of styles so that you can work all the time. And somebody said this, I mean, it's a cliche, but they said, if you can live without playing music, then don't do it. But if you can't live without playing music, you got to do it. That's a good one. Yeah, and I'm sure that's how it was. Well, you just described it with the Deacon. You know, you couldn't help yourself. You had to play, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Same thing for me. It wasn't even something I had to think about. It was just in me, like a fire. You know, I got to do it. Now, singers, I guess the same stuff would apply, except that what I've noticed lately, Manny, is that a lot of the vocalists have learned a certain kind of vocabulary of scatting, and it's impressive, you know.
Yeah,
But they
yeah.
do it on every song, and then they're sort of ignoring the lyric of the song. I mean, that's really Tony Bennett. That one of the people I learned a lot from was Ruby Braff, the great cornet player, and he worked with Tony in the '60s, and he said Tony's like an actor that does 23 one-act plays or 26 in a night in a concert.
Yeah.
And each one's a little play, you know, and you feel something in every one of those songs and what he sings. So if the singers are learning a bunch of bebop licks, which is great, but they're not really investing in the lyrics of the song and the feeling of the song, then they're missing out on something. And I hear that now more often than not. I mean, it's very impressive that these young people can sing saxophone solos by Charlie Parker or Lester Young or Michael Brown, whoever it is. But it's also important to know what the song's about. That's just
Absolutely.
me sounding. Yeah, I mean, could I sound any more like an old man by saying that? But that's just the way I feel. And then I think arranging's great. I do a lot of arranging myself for my wife. But one thing I've learned, Manny, is if you make the song more about the arrangement than the song, you lose something. So
Yeah.
you know, you got to be smart about how much you arrange something. That's
Yeah, you
just
don't want to arrange it so much till you throw it totally out of the box. You know.
That's it. That's it. Exactly. Yeah.
I know just what you're saying. You know, and you mentioned a name there, legendary, fantastic Mr. Tony Bennett. What
Yeah.
was it like to work with Tony, and how long did you wait? How long were you with him? Were you with him until he passed away?
I was. So in the year 2000, I got a call from Tony's road manager, and he said, "Listen, our bass players run into some difficulty. Can you come out and sub?" So in 2000, I came out for the latter part of the winter and the spring, and then the bass player's situation got better and he could come back. And then every 3 years they would call me to sub. I mean, it just worked out like that. It wasn't on a schedule. It just. And then in 2009 they asked me to come out to sub, but then Tony hired me based on that trip. He said, "I'd like to make a change in the group right now and bring you out." So I stayed from 2009 until his very last performance at Radio City Hall, Music Hall in 2023, I think, 2021. Anyway, it was his last performance.
Okay.
Now, what was it like? Well, I knew Tony Bennett was great since I was a little kid because my parents would turn on every Sunday. Now I can't think of the name of Ed Sullivan, and I'd see everybody on Ed Sullivan. I'd see rock groups, I'd see magicians, everything. But Tony Bennett was on there a lot, and my dad and mom both loved Tony Bennett. So I paid attention to him when I was a kid, as much as a kid does, you know, because I was probably more interested in rock groups or something when I was 10 years old. But when I got to work with him the very first time, I realized I had stepped into a situation where somebody was an absolute expert, one of the greatest. And watching that and hearing what he had to say when he would make little adjustments to the performance afterwards or when we were traveling somewhere, I learned what it's like to be up close to somebody that's an absolute perfectionist. And then as far as like we're playing all over Europe, all over South America, all over the United States. I think I went to almost every state with Tony Bennett in the United States. And he made it very comfortable for the quartet. You know, he wanted us to have the same traveling and hotel situations that he had, which was really great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then I'd also throw in this. When you have a quartet working together, say 120, 130 gigs a year, maybe more than that.
Man.
It gets so tight. It gets so, intimately what each guy does, and you know how to, I found a way to fit in and add a little bit of my own without taking away from Tony. Because it's the old adage: if Tony gets sick and can't make a job, the job's called off. If I get sick and can't make a job with Tony, they just get another bass player. So understanding that I'm lucky to be in a position that I know how to handle, but I got to realize, why I'm there, and I'm there to support Tony Bennett.
Right.
But it was great. It was great, man. There wasn't a minute I didn't love it.
That's wonderful. And I understand that everybody traveled together in this in a jet. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
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 That's wonderful. So let's stay in that area for a minute. Lady Gaga.
Mm-hmm.
I know that she started doing some things with Tony Bennett as well. Were you there? Were you playing when she was there?
Yeah, every minute of it. We were at the Javits Center in, I think, 2011. Tony was, and we were with him, of course. And she was performing on that same bill. And apparently they talked after the show or during the show about doing something together. So in 2013, we went to Kaufman Studios in New York, and there was Lady Gaga. We recorded for a week. And some of that stuff they kept. And then we went back that fall and did some more, and that formed the first record that Tony and Lady Gaga did together. And then we, I think in 2016 maybe, we did a 49-city tour with Lady Gaga and Tony. And Lady Gaga had her band and Tony had his band.
Okay.
And it was a pretty great show because we got to, sometimes our band would back her up, sometimes their band would back Tony up. They did some duets, of course, and individual stuff. And those guys were all really great guys and became like pretty much lifelong friends, I think, for me. And the thing I noticed about Lady Gaga is she's immensely talented. There's just no denying it. She's just phenomenally talented. And she was able to learn very quickly from Tony what Tony had to offer about music, which is a ton of stuff. I would say she's like the epitome of a quick study. She just learned very quickly what to do. And so I can't say enough good things about her. Yeah, she was terrific. Yeah.
Fantastic, man. I'm just sitting here listening, getting the ear full, man. It's on my end, it's quite educational, and I'm digging every minute of it, We're going to talk about our buddy for a minute here.
Yeah.
Harold Jones.
Yeah.
The metronome.
Yeah.
How was it like working with Harold Jones?
Well, it was like dying and going to heaven. And meeting St. Peter at the pearly gates and him saying, guess what? You're going to be playing with Harold Jones up here. I mean, it was, I'm in awe of Harold Jones. I consider myself to be a very good friend of Harold Jones. My wife told me today, Manny, that Harold and Denise, his wife of many, many years, are going to come and stay at our house pretty soon because Harold has to take a trip to see Zildjian cymbals, which oddly enough, Zildjian's in the same town I live in.
Okay.
Which is pretty wild, Norwell. But so if I could break it down for a second, I'd say, let's talk about the music. Well, it's very, very comfortable to play with Harold Jones. I mean, his beat is so consistent. His choice of cymbals during sections of a song is just like phenomenal. It's the way he colors with the brushes on a ballad. I never heard anyone do that to that level of greatness. So yeah, just an incredible, great drummer. Also can read music like crazy. I was
At the
shocked.
drop of a hat.
Yeah, we went into the studio the first time to do the record was called Duets 2, and it was with a bunch of artists, and they were all orchestral arrangements for most of the songs. And Harold could read anything, like the first time, flawlessly. Now let's talk about the person. Harold Jones is an amazing, in my opinion, and I think the world's opinion, is an amazing human being because
Yes, he is. Yes, he
he's
is.
he's kind. Yeah, I hear you. He's
Yes.
kind. He's funny, really funny. He's really funny. Uh, he's uh, he's just everything you'd want in a friend. He's he's terrific that way. He's a loyal friend, which
Yes.
which is really rare these days, and I value that greatly. Um, and I would say that when I joined Tony, he stood off to the side a little bit till he saw how we were going to play together, and then once we realized we had a complete lock, then yeah, we became great friends. And oh, okay, you wanted a funny story? Okay, I'll tell you a funny story.
Okay, go ahead on.
When I first joined, we're on the aforementioned Learjet deal, and maybe it's a month or so into me working for Tony. And on Tony's plane, there was always a bunch of food if we were going on a long flight, and there was always a bunch of candy if we were going on a short flight. And we were on the plane, and I was really shy. There was like a dish of candy, and the guys were getting a few things for them for their bags for later, and I was like kind of afraid to dig in and grab a Milky Way or whatever. And Harold saw that, and he looked at me, and he said, "Marshall, you got to grab some of that candy because tonight at midnight it's going to taste like a cheeseburger."
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and another time, just one more. I mean, I could just load you up with these things, but another time we were
Take your time.
Oh, thanks, man. We were relaxing and having a couple of pops at the bar, and when we got getting ready to leave, he looked at Tom Young, Tony's great sound man, and Frank Sinatra's before that. He looked at Tom and I, and he said, "Marshall, Tom, I'll see you on the moon." So yeah, he's great. We could spend 10 hours and we wouldn't even scratch the surface about how great Harold Jones is in every regard.
I love him to death, man. Tony is my mentor. I met him back in, I don't even think he remembers, but I met him back in 1967.
Wow.
And he was playing with the Count Basie band.
Uh-huh.
And it's in LA at a place called the Shrine Auditorium.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I was always trying to get to hear these people play.
Sure.
And so I would go to the side door and knock on the side door, and then finally, I didn't even know who he was then. I said, "Hey, can I go in with you? I'm a drummer. I want to go and listen to the show." He said, "Oh, you play drums, huh?" I still didn't know who I was talking to.
Right.
I get in there and he gets on the bandstand and starts playing. I just I got chills, man. I started shaking at the knees. I said, "This cat is the one I've been wanting to meet, Harold Jones."
Yeah.
And every up from 1967, Marshall, to now, he's my mentor. And I tell that to everybody, every interview that I do. Harold Jones.
Yeah.
Harold Jones is my mentor.
Yeah.
And I love him to death.
Yeah.
I'll say it openly right now. Harold, thank you for making me and bringing me to where I am now, man. Thank you very much.
No, I say the same thing, Manny. I echo that completely. Thank you, Harold Jones. Yeah.
You can't, like you say, you can't say enough about Harold, because one thing leads to another when you're talking about Harold.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking of this. We were in Chicago at Ravinia for a 2-nighter, and it happened to be 95 degrees both nights, really hot.
Yeah.
And they had put the food in our dressing room at 3 p.m. So by the time the show was over at say 10 o'clock, the food had been in that heat and now had gone bad. The mayonnaise, I think, or who knows what. So I'm back there chowing down. And we're riding back to the hotel, and I realize, man, I'm sick. So that's what happened. So now the next night, I said, "Harold, man, I don't know if I'm over this food poisoning. I mean, And he said, look, man, here's an old bassy trick. He said, take a towel and put it on, right behind you. And if anything happens, you just put that towel up in front of your face so no one knows what happened. It'll just look like you're wiping sweat off.
Yeah.
That's the kind of wisdom that Harold, he had an answer for anything when you're on the road. When he got to a hotel, he would decorate his room with like a pennant from Indiana and he was, Harold should have he should teach a course at Harvard on how to be a great musician on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he knows, man. Yeah.
That's just wonderful, man. I'm very proud and honored to know.
Me too.
Harold Jones, to know you. It's just fantastic. What are some of the? I'm pretty sure you can answer this one. What are some of the best shows that you can recall, man? In your career?
In my career, well, I mean, clearly the stuff with Tony, because you're talking about Royal Albert Hall, the Palladium in London. You're talking about Hollywood Bowl, the Metropolitan Opera. This amphitheater I don't know the name of in Turkey that we played in, I think 2 times. So those shows were incredible because the music was at such a high level, and you're in some like really incredible place with at the Hollywood Bowl, you're talking 19,000 people.
Yeah.
So all of those were great, but I've also had some great nights, Manny, just like in a small nightclub, just where everything, how it is. There's certain nights where everything just clicks. And I say to people about those nights, I feel like I'm just standing next to me, watching me play and kind of amazed. I mean, the connection to the instrument and to the band members and to the audience even is so strong that I don't have to think about a thing. The thing about those nights is that they're not all the time. So that's what keeps you chasing the music, is that, if you have a bad night, you're like, I got to get back out there and fix this, So I always, Tony said it, and I think Charles Mingus said this, you're only as good as your last gig,
That's right. That's a fact. Yeah. That's a fact. I've heard that a lot of times. Matter of fact, I've heard Harold say it too.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I'm gonna ask you one more question. We're winding down here, and it's just such. I'm glad we were just able to click and hook up, man.
Me too.
I think you're a wonderful person. And sometime, man, I would definitely like to sit down with you and play with you sometime.
Oh, we got to do that.
I would love it, man.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I do cruise ship gigs, and if you're available, I'll call you and see if you can go out with me.
I'd love that. Yeah.
Have you ever done one before?
I have. I did one with Monty Alexander, and that was a blast. Jeff Hamilton was the drummer on that one.
Yeah,
and I did. Yeah. Very nice. But I'm a huge fan of Monty's. I just think he's like one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
And then once with Kenny DeVerne, who's was sort of like a more traditional clarinetist, but really great. And that had Howard Alden on guitar and Gianpaolo Biaggi on drums, who was a wonderful Italian drummer. I wonder where he's gone. But at any rate, please call me. I'd love it, man. I'd love to.
Man, it would be so much fun. It's almost like I want to just jump in my car now, man, and put my drums in and ride up to Boston and just play,
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I would love it, man.
For you. Yeah.
I used to listen, when I would see you on stage, you and Harold playing behind Tony, I said, good gracious, I wish I could be up there, That's so much I admire you guys. I really look forward to the day, and I hope and pray that we get a chance to just sit down behind the instruments together and play. Even with your wife, I'd love to come back with you sometime.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get her on the show sometime and interview her if she'd love to do it.
I'm sure she'd love to do it. Yeah.
And that'd be so fantastic. It's been, again, I'm always saying this. We're winding down, but it's been such a great interview, been talking to you. I don't look at it as, I just keep it open because I want other people to hear what we're talking about, share the experience, especially our young people.
Yeah, yeah,
I go out and I do a lot of talk shows, I do interviews, I do panel discussions, and they say, "What was it?" I let them ask me any kind of question they want
yeah.
because they say, "Well, what was it like traveling and being with the Rolling Stones?" I say, "Crazy." But I loved every night. Back then I was so high, man. I didn't know where I was.
I hear
I
you.
just knew that I was on another stage.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah,
finished that night. We go to the hotel and did what we did last night and get back on the plane and go to the next gig. That's why I
yeah.
said crazy, but you learn from those things,
Sure,
And I
sure.
share that with the people that I talk to, and I'm gonna reach out to some people and let them know that you were on the show, Harold was on the show, and to just tune in and dig this, what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And tell some of your friends to
I will.
click on, Life and Music with Manny Kellogg, and it's on YouTube. So, brother, we're all over the world as we
Excellent,
speak,
excellent.
and just check them and have them to click on it and subscribe to it.
Beautiful.
Man, again, here we go, man. Here we go downhill. The roller
Yeah.
coaster's on the downside. And
Yeah,
we definitely got to stay in close contact. If you
we
don't
will.
mind,
We
I
will.
will just call and say hello. How you doing, man?
Please do.
If I
Please
don't
do.
get you, you know what I'm just calling to say hello. And you might hear me say, "Hey, man, I packed my drums up. I'm coming up."
All right, all right. That sounds
All
great, man.
All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and thank Diggs Entertainment again for being such a positive person for this podcast. Again, Diggs Entertainment is a very good person, very good friend of mine.